All right, Rabbi Isa, good morning. How's everybody doing? If everybody could please mute themselves. Gewaldig. How's everybody doing? I am not relaxed. I'm on vacation, finally, after a year. My first time on vacation, live to you from Tzaftzoufa, Israel. I don't know if I could show you this. Hold on a second. That's the pool, and behind you see some mountains. That's about it. Oh, not fair for the YouTube guys. Hold on, we gotta YouTube it a little bit. Pool, above ground pool, and mountains. Okay. So we are live on location. The Daf doesn't take a break. Back in the day, perhaps, when I would go on vacation, I would occasionally forget my Gemara. Occasionally I would bring the Gemara. But 9 times out of 10, I probably didn't open up the Gemara. That was back. I don't have my boards and I don't have a printer. I know Israel Davis came to my house with a printer and I was carrying it out the door, and then I said, you know what? Avi Kamiansky came over during the shir and brought me the book. So for vacation, this is going to have to do. I'm going to just show pictures up like this. I did tune into Menachem Matez's shir last night, and he was using screen share, which was amazing. It was on the screen and he was just with his mouse and everything. But since we're doing 2 platforms, we're doing YouTube as well, so it doesn't really work on YouTube unless, I think with the new camera, we just got a brand new camera, a $2,000 camera. Eli Stefansky is convinced that it should work. So, Be'ezer Hashem, I am outdoors, so if you hear there's a lot of ATVs going by, hopefully you don't hear too much of that. Today's shir, also I don't have a printer, so I have to read off my notes. Here, I'm going to put it behind me. This was a long one, and I got it right before shir. Refuah Shlema for Chana ben David, Yisrael ben Rachaleah, Melech Yoina ben Gittel, and this individual just got a new job. It should be successful, and thank you for spreading Torah. Ian Meltzer, 2. Zach and Dan Meltzer. I'm trying to read my own handwriting. They should grow in their connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem. And Ira Greenstein, a 3rd one. Lilu Nishmas, Osna Malka Basrib Tzvi Herschel. I think that's the name. It came out kind of reversed in the text, but hopefully, at least HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the neshama we're referring to. So, beautiful. Let me see if I can read an email off here, because I don't have my... We did get no less than 4 emails requesting the MDY sweatshirts. So let me see if I can read this one. This is a really nice email. I got a bunch. Yesterday was a record-breaking, obviously, after the Siyum, I don't know, 30, 40 emails, who knows. But so 4 of them, we're going to knock out of the... We're going to just say they wanted sweatshirts. Now, we didn't produce the sweatshirts. The jackets were by Uncle Phil, and he was nice enough to send one to Yoel Bergman, our official co-host from Chicago. So he got one. My own kids didn't get one. They're a little upset. So, that's really Kalman's job. Kalman was screaming, we got to get merch. Let him go ahead and get merch, and maybe we'll give a little bit of an uptick, and we'll bring some money in for MDY. Who knows? Merch. So those. Listen to this email, Rabbi. Dear Eli, this is from Simon Zellman. I just got it. So it's the top of the list, so I'm just going to read it. It's a nice one. I had the opportunity today to be on the 2:15 p.m. shir. That's probably Menachem Mateh. I hope he recognizes the difference between me and him. We're a little different. First time, I have to read it from here. Hold on.
Next time we have to ask Yosef Eruvin to give a shir.
Menachem Matezan. Yeah, we look a little different. Yosef Eruvin looks just like me. True. First time for me attending the live shir. I lingered on after to speak to a few of the Chevra, Shmelke Gutman, Yeshua, Yossi, etc. I shared with them my story, and they thought it would be a good idea for me to share with you. Let's start by saying you have the schus for helping me for the first time in my life to finish not 1 but 2 Masechtas, Brachas, and most recently Shabbos. I'm a BT from the age of 13 and live in Flatbush. My father was a Holocaust survivor, passed away last year. while I was in an Eretz Yisrael for my youngest son's bar mitzvah. That's not a good story. He was there to celebrate a bar mitzvah and his father's niftar. He always sent us to yeshiva as he felt it was important to get a Jewish education throughout the decades. I was never quite able to get on a roll, a real seder. Once my father passed, I made sure to be at the minyan early, never to miss a Kaddish. After all, none of my listeners are saying Kaddish. One of the Gabbaim came over to me and asked whether I would be willing to join the Daf Yomi shir before Shachris in order to help get it going. Well, I figured I was a captive audience anyways, having been shul for the first Kaddish, so I'd come a little bit earlier to help out. Guess what? I really got into it, but I needed a backup for when the guy giving the shir was unable to. I searched online and came across the 8-minute daf. They were infectious, just what I needed. When COVID hit and the daf group started falling apart, I was really hurting not being able to say Kaddish, and now no daf. But you were there and you kept me going with the daf. Eli, we finished the Masechta together, exclamation point, exclamation. Well, actually, I saved the last part of the daf of brachas to make a siyum. Rebelli, thanks to you, this 52-year-old will complete his first Masechta front to back on this Thursday evening and make a siyum in honor of the first yahrzeit of my father, Leibel ben Shimon Halevi. The neshama should have an aliyah, beautiful story. I now have Masechta Shabbos ready to roll as well. It's not about the daf, it's about the yomi. Thank you, Eli. And in case you need chizuk, I don't need chizuk now. I just came off that siyum, 107 videos. Please keep doing what you are doing because what you have done for me is off the charts. Simon. All right, Yishkoyach Reb Simon, beautiful email. I want to tell you something else, one last thing before we jump into the sugya. Today, Baruch Hashem, Akash Baruch Hu gave me a beautiful daf. It's a vacation daf, I hope. Or maybe I was on vacation and I thought it was, and we're going to find out a little. No, this one is easy. Half-hour preparation. Yeah, I did it on the taxi on the way up here. Not a problem. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. So we had siyumim all over the place. One of the largest siyumim we had was Irma Bet Shemesh by Dr. Avi Factor. And Dr. Avi Factor was kind enough to steal the street right in front of all the buildings there. No traffic allowed. I'm kidding. He got rishos, put up giant screens, and invited the whole world, everybody. And he had it catered. So it was very expensive. And there was a suggested amount to pay. Now, naturally, people were coming a lot, over 50 people, and some of them couldn't pay. So Avi funded it himself. When I heard about that, I suggested that MDY, since it's in RBS, and typically we would be sponsoring the siyum, so we sent money over to him, and he refused to take money. He refused to take the money. He wanted to sponsor, he wanted to be on his own. Avi Factor sends me a voice note yesterday. So this is Avi Factor doing chesed with the chevra, with the olam. And he sent me a very emotional voice note, 2-minute voice note. It says that his uncle was nifter yesterday. And it was a meis mitzvah. None of his sons were able to come to the levaya. They're all doctors, all live in Chutz La'aretz. They couldn't come. So it's Avi and his brother. So Avi has a lot of connections and he puts out messages on all these groups. And the ones that came forward were the MDY Chevra, his family. He says that people he's never met in his life, one individual drove in on a bus. He took a bus from Yerushalayim to be the center at the levaya, and he's extremely emotional. MDY Mishpacha. He gave to the Mishpacha gave back to him, and it's unbelievable. He says the guy got off the bus on the 38. If you don't know RBS, it's a highway. He had a hitch from the bus stop into the Beis HaKfaras, a hot day. Somebody he never met, he doesn't know, but he's from the family. All right, Zokta Heli Gemara, we're holding Daf Ches Omid Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. I have no idea what time it is, so once in a while somebody shoot the time on the screen. It would be nice if I had a clock here. I don't. So
you have 10 minutes left.
Thanks, Noam. Thank you. Noam, your name is on my Gemara here on this daf. Just telling you. So a guy, instead of putting the kaira, the horizontal crossbeam, should I lower this a little bit? There we go. He takes this crossbeam and he puts it over the street. instead of it being in the mavoi, he puts it outside of the mavoi, over the street. How? He has two extension poles coming out of the wall, and he puts the mavoi, rests it on these two little pipes that he has there. Picture, I'll show you a picture. If we had screen share, it would be beautiful. One day we're going to have screen share for YouTube as well. We don't want the YouTube guys to feel bad. I don't know if you could see well. You see that?
You want Menachem to share screen on Zoom and you'll just show it on YouTube?
Does he have? I don't know if he has it ready. That's fine. I put a purple guy here because it's not so visible. There's a little sticker. It's not so visible in the picture where that pole is. But the point is, there's a little pole sticking out. Okay? Fine. And he put the kaira on top of the poles. Omarle, a little bit of a riddle. L'divrei hamatir asur, according to the one that says it's mutter, it's asur. L'divrei ha'isur mutter, and according to the one that says it's asur, it's mutter. What does that mean? Yesterday we were discussing whether you're permitted to use the area underneath the kaira. Is that part considered part of the mavoi, or is it already outside of the mavoi? So Rashi says, going according to the last understanding that we had in the Gemara, that the machlokes is what part of the kaira, if this is the thickness of the kaira, I'm taking a liberty to use this sefer because it's not a real sefer, just pictures. It is Torah though, but we're using it for Torah. Which part goes down? Do we say that this is the invisible wall, or this is the invisible wall? This or this? Now, looking from within inside the mavoi, if you're saying that the wall, the part of the kaira that you see first, you're in the mavoi, you're looking outwards, and you see a kaira. This kaira, let's say, is it's a foot long, foot wide. If the part that's closest to you goes down invisibly, so what do you have? You have an invisible wall that's touching the other two walls. But if it's the outer part that goes down, and the outer part is over the street, and it's a foot away from your walls, so now you have an invisible wall going down, but it's a foot away from your wall. So it's not touching your walls. It's an invisible wall that's a foot away from your wall. Why didn't you say lavud? It's only a foot away. Let's say it's within 3 tfachim away. So say lavud. Says Rashi, very interesting. Because you're dealing with an invisible wall that's only a halachic wall. So you can't use two halacha Moshe Messinais and create an invisible wall that's also 3 tfachim this way. You can't start moving invisible things. Invisible is invisible. They have invisible power, but you can't. They don't move. Says Rashi. Fine. If you're permitted to walk be metaltal underneath the kaira, why are you allowed to be carrying underneath the kaira? Because you extend that wall to the end of the kaira. Well then, asur, now you don't have an invisible wall that's touching your mavui. But the one who says you're not permitted to carry underneath your kaira, why? Because your invisible wall is at the beginning of the kaira. So that beginning of the kaira is touching your other walls. So now you have 4 walls. You're connected by 4 walls. One of them is invisible, but it's touching the other 3. Rava says it's always asur. Why? You need the kaira to rest on top of your mavui. This one is resting outside of your mavui. It's on 2 poles. It's not on top of your mavui. Ask Ravada So this seems to be our case. L'chayra. Mishucha means that it's extending outside of your mavui. Oitluya, or it's hanging. So what does it mean, hanging? So hanging means that we're talking about, let's say your mavui is 9 amas wide. Okay, just for argument's sake. Your kaira is only 8 amos wide. Somebody just closed the door. I guess I'm waking people up. That's why I went outside. I didn't want to wake people up. Nevertheless, I got a door closed. Maybe I should lower it a little bit. But anyway. Yeah, Lili Nishmas.
your mother.
Oh, thank you. Shkoyach. At least somebody remembers.
Dyke.
Who?
Eli Dyke.
Nachum, Eli Dyke. Eli Dyke. No wonder he's on top of the thing. Lili Nishma Asimi Mirasi Ruspas Mordechai. I'll tell you, I met a guy, a big Talmud Chacham in Eretz Yisrael. Somebody told me he knows how to read hands. So I went over to him, and this is 4 or 5 years ago, and he looks at my hand, and he was telling me some crazy stuff. And I don't believe in these guys. You know, I'm one of these, I'm a real Litvak, I don't believe in this stuff. But he was telling me things. He told me, your mother's not alive anymore, and your father remarried. So like, how would he know this? And then he tells me, it's a shame what you're doing. You need to be a Maggid Shir. You'd be an unbelievable Maggid Shir. I promise you that's what he told me. And he said, you need to learn, and you need to start saying Shiurim and say Lili Nishmas your mother. That's what you need to do. So like I was rehashing this in my brain, a few days ago. Like, I didn't listen to this guy, and I used to say it at the Thursday night shir because of him. But so that's why I need to say it. He hit on to some crazy stuff. He was like, a few funny things. He said, "Oh, you're a great chef," and some weird things that I know how to make eggs. That's about it. But some things he really, that was random. Your father is remarried, your mother is nifter, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So here's the picture.
He did his homework before you spoke to him.
He didn't know I'm coming. I just walked over to him in base medrash. But it's possible, yeah. I can't even see the picture, this one, right over here. Do you guys see a pole here? I don't know if you can see it. It's on a pole. Oh, Menachem Atez doing it. Here we go. Beautiful. That's the way it's supposed to look. For you two guys, one day we're going to have it. Here it is on the pole. Basically, the kaira is not touching the two sides of the walls. It's not touching the walls. It's hanging in midair. Pachis mishloisha, if it's less than 3, I got an email yesterday also. The guy asked if everybody that's watching the shir are a bunch of iluyim, because I only show the picture for 1 or 2 seconds, and that's not enough time for him to grasp the picture. Most of us are iluyim, yeah, I would say. We only accept iluyim. Some other people sneak in once in a while. Pachis mishloisha ein tzarich lahavi kaira acheres. Less than 3 tvachim, it's great. You do lava to the sides, you extend it, everything is good. Shloisha tzarich lahavi kaira acheres. If more than 3 tvachim, you have to bring another beam. Reb Shimon Gamliel loimer pachis ma'ar ba'in tzarich. So now we're introducing a new shita that we never heard of before. Reb Shimon Gamliel says lavad works up to 4 tvachim. We know about lavad for 3 tvachim. Reb Shimon Gamliel says 4 tvachim. So 4 tvachim, ein tzarich lahavi kaira acheres. If it's within 4, it's connected to the wall. Arba, if it's 4 tvachim, remember that Taisvis, Arba kilamala, Eser kilamata, that riddle. So Arba, if it's 4 tvachim, it's already too bad, it's too much. Tzarich lahavi kaira acheres. My love, mishucha mibachutz, utluya mibifnim. So, l'chayra, this is our case, says the Gemara. Perhaps, here we have a contradiction or a kasha on Rava that says that the kaira must be on top of the mavoi. Over here it doesn't say it has to be on top of the mavoi. Over here, even if it's outside of the mavoi, as long as it's within 3 tefachim of the mavoi, it's kosher. Why does Rava say that the kaira has to be directly above the walls of the mavoi? Says Gemara loy. And the tluya one, okay, so that picture that Menachem Ateb put on the screen, that it's hanging on top of a beam, so that would be inside. Loi, both cases, the mashuch and the taloi are both inside. Mishucha meruach achas, utluya mishnei ruchos. So mishucha means that it's attached to one wall. Menachem, here you go, put it up. Here's a mishucha. It's on the wall, but it's not attached to this wall. It's missing. If it's more than 3 tefachim, it's pasul. Less than 3 tefachim is kosher. I love this technology. It's amazing. But he has it better. He's using his mouse. Show them with your mouse. 3 tefachim, gevaldik. Awesome. Says the Gemara. The truth is, this is what we should do. I should just give somebody the picture so I don't have to do it during shir. That's what we have in the Beis Medrash. We have Mordechai Seltzer who does the pictures. And, it's always good that somebody else could do it while you're just continuing on. Ma'al the same, although last night he was very much under control of Menachem. He was like schmoozing into the screen and everything looked great. He's a computer guy. That's why. Mao the same in Miruach Achas Amrin and Lavod Mishtei Ruchos Loy Amrin and Lavod. So I would think that you could say Lavod on one side, from one part. One time you say Lavod, 2 times you don't say Lavod. This thing is hanging in midair. You have to say Lavod. So Kamash Malon that you say Lavod even from 2 times. You say Lavod twice. Anybody? Questions? No? Okay, we're going to go weiter. Nachamol. Should I say it again? No questions, that means it's easy. I would say that you say Lavod only once. Kamash Malon, you say it even twice. So how many cases do we have? We have a case of Lavod once, and that's this case. And I have a case of Lavod twice, this case. So that's why I give you 2 cases. Well, it's the obvious question. This is where Noam usually asks the question. If we could get away with 1 case, just tell us the halacha that you could say Lavod twice, and that's the.
Assume that that's only the one side. That's why.
Noam, you already know to look for the answers. Gewaltig. But I wrote in my Gemara, so I'm just 1 for 1. I wrote that over here. Noam asked the kasha. I was hoping you're going to ask, and I'll be able to flip my Gemara around. But no, only happened once, 2 years ago. Noam asked the kasha in the middle of Shir, and I told everybody I already anticipate that he's the one that's going to ask the question, and it's in my Gemara, and I flipped the Gemara around and showed everybody. But that's it. He doesn't fall for that trick anymore. Now he tells me the answers, not the questions. So anyways, so the simple answer is that loizu avzu. But a better answer is that if I would say only 1 case of love from two ways, I'll say, okay, only, what's the answer? No, help me out here.
I would interpret that word to mean only pulled away from one side and not both sides.
The what?
I would interpret Mashach Atalui as meaning only moved away from the wall on one side.
No, that's not the answer.
To explain that it's Mashach on 2 sides to teach us the Kiddush of both.
No. I think the answer is that if it only says twice, fine. But what about a case where it's more than 3? I would say that's not a problem, because I have at least one side touching the wall. I think that's what they say. The answer. I have one side touching the wall. So even if I have 4 tfachim distance, it doesn't passel it. Komash Malon, it does. I think that's what they're saying. Okay. Anyway, I might be wrong. Rav Ashi Omar Mishucha v'hit luya. So Rav Ashi says no. We're not talking about 2 separate cases, one on a pole and one that's not. It's far away 3 tfachim. We're talking about 1 case, and that is, it's a case where it's above the mavui and away from the mavui. It's meshucha v'itluya, like in the picture. Menachem, you could already get that picture on the screen. Veichidami kigon shenach they say this akumois ashtei koslim mavui. So there are 2 poles. Some Rishonim learn that it's like Menachem is showing that it's on an angle. These poles are on an angle. Some Rishonim learn it's an L shape. The point is that it's less than 3 tfachim away. Now, if you think about it and you look at the picture, you actually have to invoke lavud twice, because you can't go lavud on an angle. So you need to bring it down 3 tfachim, and at the same time go sideways 3 tfachim. Or bring it down 2 tfachim, let's say, and go to the side 2 tfachim, because we're talking about less than 3. You don't have 3. I could go downwards, bring it halachically downwards, less than 3, and I could go sideways, less than 3, but I can't do both. It's 2 halacha Moshe Messinai's. Chavoit, sorry, it's not halacha of lavut so much, it's more of halacha of chavoit. If I have a ceiling, and I don't have any, like I have a shade ceiling, I don't have any walls, so the halacha says I pretend that the walls go downwards, it's chavoit. Over else I'm going to go downwards. Same idea, but it's halacha Moshe Messinai. I would think you don't do 2 halacha Moshe Messinai's. Kamash Malon.
Eli?
Yeah.
They say both of our pshatim.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, I saw this pshat. I didn't see your pshat either. Okay, great. Tani Reb Zakkai Kamid Reb Yochanan. So Reb Zakkai said in front of Reb Yochanan, Bein luchayayim v'tachas hakoyer nidon kekarmelis. So we had this question yesterday. Could you walk by the koyer, under the koyer, by the lechi? What's the halacha of the koyer itself? And think about it. What if your lechi is a giant lechi? It takes up a lot of space, a couple feet. Can you carry in those few feet? Says the Gemara, nidon kekarmelis. It's usher. It's asur the rabbanon. It's like a karmelis. A karmelis is a shus the rabbanon. Asur. Amarlei poig toni levaro. Go outside. I don't want to hear like shtusim. No, get out of here. You're saying things that are against the halacha. So let me know if there's a glare. The sun. I had to move the table. The sun is starting to go this way, and I see it starting to hit the screen. If it bothers somebody, let me know. I'll move everything. Omar Abaya. So yeah. There's somebody who's telling me I forgot who it was, the Briskerov. Some guy came to ask him a kasha, and he started asking. It was a little bit of a funny, like a krum kasha in learning. He didn't like the approach in learning. He told this kid, "Get out of here. You're not allowed to listen to shtusim like this. I don't want to make your head krum kasha. Get out." Omer Abaye, but on two halachas he said it, on a koira and on a lechi. Could you carry in the area below the koira and on the side of the lechi? Omer Abaye mistaber milsa de Rabbi Yochanan tachas a koira. Rabbi Yochanan was only upset about the kaira. You're allowed to walk under a kaira. You're allowed to carry under the kaira. I keep on saying walking, but it's carrying under the kaira. Avabein lechayayin asur, but the side of the lechi. Again, like yesterday, we had the same lashon. It's a double lashon, a plural. We're not talking about two lechi. We're talking about one. It just means all the lechis of the world. Bein lechayayin, by the lechi. If you have a vertical piece of wood that shows you that the mavi is over with, you're allowed to walk in that area. If you remember yesterday, we finished off the sugya, Omer Rav Chizda, like 5 lines from the bottom, Hakol Moedim, everybody admits, everybody admits it's asur. What does Rava say? By the way, who's Rava compared to Rav Chizda? A son-in-law, right? Rav Chizda's daughter married Rami Bar Chama, who's on the 4th line from the bottom of the page, who asked his father-in-law Rav Chizda. And now, that same daughter, Rami Bar Chama's nifter, the famous story, she had a nevuah. She said, "I'm marrying both of you." And Rava says, "Please, let me be the second one. I want to live." And so it happened. She married Rami Bar Chama. He was nifter. And then Rava married. I don't know that the story happened when he was a son-in-law, but he's arguing on the famous Rav Chizda, and he says that's not true. Where Rav Chizda says nobody argues with me, his own son-in-law comes along and says, I say that you could use the area, you could be metaltal by the lechi. Amar Rava, how do I know this? I'll prove it to you. Where Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael down into Bavel, right? Many, hundreds of times throughout Shas. When they came from here and they brought the Torah with them, and he said, the Rabbi Yochanan Eretz Yisrael says, Makom she'ein ba arba mutar levnei rishus harabim levnei rishus hayachid lekatef alav u'bavad shelo yachlifu. This is a picture. I had this picture from this sefer when we were learning Masechta Shabbos. So it might be familiar to you from Shabbos. Basically, you see those beams in there. These beams are not 4 tfachim. So since they're not 4 tfachim, they have a halacha of rishus by themselves. If they were 4 tfachim, what would they be? What rishus would a 4 tefach thing be? Not 10 tfachim high. 4 tfachim. Oh, well, now it's a makim p'tur. But if it has 4 tfachim, what is it? Magichir, what is it?
If it's less than 10 tfachim high, it's a makom tur still. If it's both,
no. I believe that I think it's a caramelis. I think so.
If it's 4 by 4 and it's 10 tfachim high, so should say.
I know. I'm not talking about 10 tfachim high. I'm saying less than 10 tfachim high, but it's 4. That 4 makes it a caramelis, I believe. But anyway, I don't know. Magachir against Magachir here. We'll have to find that out one day. So the point is, it's less than 4 tefachim. Less than 4 tefachim. What happens above 4 tefachim? I think it's caramelist. He says it's not. The less than 4 tefachim, you're allowed to take your knapsack, readjust it. You put it down on that beam and readjust it. Just what you shouldn't do is, even though halachically it's okay, don't lay it down on that beam and then walk into the green area on the screen, the grassy area right over here, and then pick it up and start walking to Rosh Hashanah, which would be okay, but it looks really bad. It looks like you just carry from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah. So it says, the katef olav, to take it off your shoulders, katef, your shoulder, but don't do a switcheroo. Don't then position yourself in the other rishos, or vice versa. Go from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah. So, now the place of the lechi is also less than 4 tvachim. So you should be able to carry there as well, says Rava. Rava is trying to prove that the area by the lechi, which is less than 4 tvachim, you should be able to carry there. It's a makom ptur, just like this makom ptur. These beams that jut out in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, they're very noticeable. You see that it's its own little thing. Simon Cohen's fault. Actually, it's my fault. I'm not taking my medicine he told me to take. Fine. So these beams, everybody notices. It's a makom ptur. Look, they come out of the ground. They're little beams in the middle of a public area. Fine. But a lechi is different. A lechi is right up against the wall. It's a little strip of wood. Nobody notices anything. It's not its own rishos. People are not going to realize, why are you walking here? What does that have to do with a beam behind over there? You know what I'm saying? Let's say this was a lechi, this thing over here. So that's why I'm allowed to walk here. If I put something down on a pole that's not 4 tefachim, people say, oh, the reason is because it's a rishos by itself. It's very noticeable. Fine. Now it's Abaye's turn.
We've got 7 minutes left.
No, for real. Total? Wow. And this is an easy sugya. Amar Abaye meno amini lo. Okay, fine. Let's go slower. If you have, let's see, the picture, show pictures quickly. You have a giant lechi right over here, giant. It goes in a lot, but it's such a large area that area itself needs a new lechi. But the area itself, that wall right over here, this side wall that goes sideways, is a great lechi for the mavoi. No, show them with the arrow what I'm talking about, the side wall, up, go, no, not that wall. No, yeah. That's the lechi. There you go. Right over here is the lechi, because it's going sideways. So, but the problem is that it's a giant area over there, so you need another lechi to be matter that area. All this in here. So you'll say, you know what? That giant area is so big, it's arba, and therefore it's a makam chashuv, and that's why it requires its own lechi. But a lechi itself, which is not a makam chashuv, doesn't require. You can't say that answer when he says mufurish, even though it doesn't have 4 tefach. So what is Rava going to do with this? Crazy answer. It's talking about the reason why you need another lechi is because it's very close to a karmelis, which is usher to carry midrabanan. But if it's only open into a Rosh Hashanah, which is usher to carry their midaraisa, you don't need another lechi. Ask the Gemara, Rosh Hashanah, what are you talking about? It's mamish punkt fakert. Shari Yatziva Ba'ara V'Giyori B'Shmaya. The guys that are residents over here, the nobodies, and then the newcomers, the big shots. It doesn't. Everything is the reverse. Doesn't make any sense. How? The opposite. If you're concerned about Rosh Hashanah, you should put a lechi for Rosh Hashanah, not for some derabbanan kind of property. Says the Gemara in, I am concerned. Matzah minas mino iveneir. Beautiful. This makom over here that's less than 4 tefachim, if it did become 4 tefachim, what does it become? Here's a good raya actually. It becomes a carmelis. So now that's less than 4 tefachim, it's almost a carmelis. Almost. So now that it butts up to the carmelis, so it can become a carmelis. That's my concern. Because it's right next to it. So it's matzah minas mina, we have it in Treifus, and in Avodah Zarah we had it. You have something that you're saying right now it's not treif, but if it touches something else, it wakes up. It's a sleeper. Like Charlie Harari was talking about, the sleeper. You wake it up. So almost carmelis, touching a carmelis, will become a giant carmelis. So I have to make a hecker. But touching a Rosh Hashanah, not a problem. The Ben L'Chayim Asur. What you don't hold, the Rabbi Yochanan says that by the lechi it's Asur. Picture time. If I have a mavi that has a bunch of lechis that are less than 4 tefachim from each other, that what? There is no real machlokes. The only machlokes here is what distance do we say lavud? According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, you say lavud even more than 3 tefachim, up to 4. So therefore, all these 4 lechis are considered 1 lechi. They're all 1 lechi. And if it's 1 lechi, over here there's no machlokes between Rav Shimon Gamliel and Rabbanon. I could only use up until the outer point, where the purple arrow is. But if it's not 1 lechi, according to Rabbanon, because there's no lavud here, so I have to use the most outside lechi touching the Rosh Hashanah, but again, up until the outer point. Oh, I see you made some arrows in there. Great. Didn't come with the book. I see your own arrows in there. Says the Gemara.
It's not me. I don't know who's doing it. The arrows are not me.
Oh, somebody's on your screen sharing and doing it? That's weird. How do they have permission to go into your screen sharing? Maybe it's Avi. Because if somebody could go on there and do stuff, that's a little dangerous. You could use up until that outer edge. Also the outer edge, but a different lechi, the first lechi. They're both saying the outer edge. You can't use within the entire lechi. Here's a great raya that you can't use the width of the lechi. In that case, it was open to carmelis. Same question. Shari, what? You don't need a lechi for Rosh Hashanah. Yitziva ba'ara v'giyori b'shmishmaya. It's punkfakert in. Turning to Daf Beis, Omid Beis, Daf Tes Omid Beis, sponsored by Shia Greenfield from Greenstark Electrical Contracting. His contract is almost up. Ravashi, Omar Kegoin Shur Tzofi Beluchayim Pachis Marbo B'Meshach Arba Amois. These lechis are going 4 amas into the mavoi. Oh, 4 amas is a whole different story. 4 amas is a mavoi by itself. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Domar Amrin and Lovod Havali mavoi. That is a mavoi, and therefore tzarich lechi v'tzarich lechi achalat tiroi. So you need another lechi. When Rabban Amrin Lovod lo tzarich lechi achalat tiroi. So it happens to be that the question is, fine, machlokes, do you need another lechi? Don't need another lechi. But does that lechi that's really long, does it function as a lechi? Could you use that as at least the lechi for the rest of the mavoi? Question in Rashi. 2 pshat. So Rashi says that in those days it was common practice to extend the lechi into Rosh Hashanah, so that when you're walking by the mavoi, you notice that there is a lechi going on in this mavoi. right over here. Do you see? It's so much better on the screen. We're going to have to get to this technology soon. But anyway, right over here, it extends into the Rishus Harabim. But you don't see that extension when you're in the Mavui. Ask the Gemara, why do I have to go to the hardware store and buy a broom to put on my Mavui and make a lechi when I have part of my lechi extending into Rishus Harabim? That little part should be my new lechi. It's not in the Mavui, it's outside of the Mavui, and it works for the people in Rishus Harabim. So why are you making me go put up another lechi? Says the Gemara, because right now we're only explaining Rabbi Yochanan. Right? We're talking about in Rabbi Yochanan, what we hold in Rabbi Yochanan, and this is an explanation in Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan himself says that this halach of nirim b'chutz v'shav b'fnim and in neither mishum lechi, it doesn't work. Why? Because there's a big shaila here. What does a lechi do? A lechi accomplishes that I have a heker for myself. I recognize that I am about to leave the mavui. But if I can't recognize it, the people in Rishus Harabim see it, everybody but me, what good is it for me? If you say, we had a whole shaila yesterday, is it for a mechitza, is it for a heker? But at least with that logic, and we said all the way in the beginning of the Masechta that regardless, you basically have to hold of this heker thing also, even if you say it's a mechitza, it still acts as a heker. If I'm in Rishus HaYochid, I don't see that jutting out that goes into the Rishus Harabim. It's only if I'm walking down the sidewalk and I see a little piece of wood sticking out of the mavoi, then I realize it. So it's for the Rishus Harabim people. Says Rabbi Yochanan, it doesn't work, so it's not a good lechi. That's why I make you go to the hardware store and buy a new lechi. Itmar. So now we go into it a little bit. Nirim mibifnim v'shave b'chutz. Another picture. Another story where the lechi is beautiful for the Rishus HaYochid, for the mavoi guys. It sticks out into the mavoi. But when you're walking down the highway over here, you see you're walking this way, you don't see anything because it's flush with the Rishus Harabim wall. That should be very good, right? It is a lechi. Which we just discussed, that you don't see it in the mavoi, rather you see it from the Rishus Harabim. We don't know who. One of the two say it's a good lechi. It's not. Why? Because there's no heker. Says the Gemara this time, the Rebbe Chia who the Omar nida mishum lechi. Let me prove to you that's Rebbe Chia who says that if I could see it from the Rishus Harabim, it's good enough. The Torah Rebbe Chia, Kaisel should see that. It's very interesting. I just want to tell you, look at Rashi real quickly, like 4 lines down, and Rashi says, Almost a kairim pillar. I like when Rashi says English words that I'm familiar with. Pillar. But what's also very interesting about the Rashi is that this is one of the hardest Rashis to read, not because it's hard to understand, but because there's a lot of objects in the middle of the Rashis. As you're reading, you have to jump over boxes and continue on, and it's confusing. So I read it for you, you don't worry about it, everything's good. So you have Reb Chia saying over a brisa. Now, don't forget that Reb Chia was one of the major authorities of brisas. His brises were perfect, so he's saying over brisa. If, picture time, Menachem, quick, you're not quick enough over here. In your share, you're much quicker. I know you want to trip me up here. Go to the night share, you'll see, he's unbelievable. Boom, boom, boom. So if the wall goes in a little bit, there's a little bit of a indentation in the wall. This way. Where else do we have it? No, I don't have that picture that you're showing. That's something else. I don't know where you got that picture from. Great. Good picture. There's 2 ways to look at it, but we're running out of time. Here, you don't see it when you're walking this way because it juts in over here. This one is completely from the outside. Yeah, okay. Wow, they redid their pictures or something. I have to look at my Gemara, how they have it. Nidoi mishum lechi. It is a good lechi. So what do you see? That even though the people in the Mavi don't see it, they don't notice it, it's a good lechi. That's exactly, so it must be Reb Chia is the one that holds that even if the Mavi people don't see it, the Rishus Harabim people see it, it's a good lechi. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. What Rabbi Yochanan, the Gol Adar, didn't know about this brisa? Ella, Shmi Alei Savarla. He heard about it, he didn't like it. He ignored that brisa. So, Reb Chia nami lo sover lo. So Reb Chia, he might have said it over, but it doesn't hold like it. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. Hi, my Bishlam Reb Yochanan lo sover lo mishum hachi lo tanala. The reason why Reb Yochanan never mentioned it because he doesn't like it. El Reb Chia yisa lo sover lo lama le misna. Why is Reb Chia repeating this brisa if he doesn't like it? I didn't understand it 100%, but obviously from this Gemara you see that if you don't like something, you don't repeat it. Even though Reb Chia is Mr. Brisa or Rabbi Brisa, he is the authority of Brisas, and he just says over Brisas because that's his job. Not if you don't like it, I guess. I don't know. Omar Rabba, that's what it says here. He shouldn't have repeated it, even though he's the authority of all Brisas. And I would think, personally, if you would have asked me yesterday, I would say, he says everything, even things that he doesn't agree with. He says machlokes and he says things that are against. No, he only says things that he agrees to. So Rav Ravuna says, if you only see it from the Rosh Rabbi, you don't see it in the Mavoi, it's a good lechi. Wait a minute, we have a good kasha from the Brisa. Muteris.
This deals with your question, by the way.
Oh, okay. Listen, it's vacation. Does he really?
Yeah, he only brought my.
Oh, here. Let me show you. Okay, fine. I don't see it exactly. Fine. Great. Now, over here, by the way, I enjoyed the Rashi picture from 1,000, 2,000, whatever Rashi lived, 1,003, I don't remember how many years, more than if you look in your Rashi, the bottom picture has a very nice stick picture, which explains it beautifully. Yeah, it says Chotzer Ktana, Chotzer Gdoila. And if you look nicely, the lines extend into the Chotzer Gdoila. That's very important for our picture, where it's harder to see in these guys. Well, Menachem, you could try on yours with the mouse, it would work. Chotzer Gdoila Materis Chotzer Ktana Asura B'nei Sheki Pischa Shegdoila. So we had this halacha the other day. That you have a smaller chotzer that goes into a larger chotzer. So when you're standing in the large chotzer, the chotzer ktana looks like an opening. It looks like a petach. So therefore, it doesn't answer anything in the chotzer gdoila. The larger chotzer is permitted to carry, but the guys in the small chotzer cannot carry because there's no distinction by them. Now, before we get to that picture, the Gemara asks, but what about the side walls? There's a nice lechi going on here. There's a lechi, Menachem, show them on the corner. The lechi right over here. Right over here is a lechi, right. That's a lechi. Now that's a lechi that the people in the Chotzer Ktana don't see, but the people outside see. So that's our case. That's our case of a beautiful lechi that they happen not to be able to see it, but the people outside see it. Shouldn't that be okay? That should be halachically good. We just said it's okay. There's something that ruins the lechi because the walls continue to move downwards. As you see, if you can't see well in this picture, looking your own Rashi, you'll see the walls going downwards. Ask the Gemara, but those downward walls, right over here for YouTube, those downward walls, we should say lavod and fill them in with a bunch of cement, halachically. Those downward walls shouldn't do anything for me. It should still be a nice lechi. V'leima lavod v'tishteri. Says the Gemara, maybe they're more than 3 tvachim away, that's why you can't fill them in. I'll prove to you that they're less than 3 tvachim. The large chotzer is only 11 amas wide. The smaller chotzer is 10 amas wide. In other words, the larger chotzer is only 1 amma larger than the smaller chotzer. How much is an amma? Let's say it's 6 tvachim. We had all shaila. 5 tvachim, 6 tvachim. So it's 3 tvachim on one side, 3 tvachim on the other side. That's a great lavod. Fill in the gap. Says the Gemara, who told you that the smaller chotzer is punked in the middle, exactly in the middle? Maybe it's set off to the side, and there's 4 tvachim on one side and 2 tvachim on the other side. You don't say lavod on 4 tvachim. Says the Gemara. So what? So just say lavod on the small one, on the 2 tvachim one, and now you have 1 lechi. That's great. Says the Gemara, no, top of Yud Omid Aleph, Rebbe the Omar Be'in Shnei Pasin. The sanyo chotzer niteres bepas echad. Rabbi Yomer b'shnei pasim. That when it comes to a chotzer, not a mavoi, a chotzer. I want to be matter. A chotzer. I need on both sides, and right and left. I need a nice lechi. I can't get away with one lechi. Certainly, if that one lechi is only a lavud. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Noam, what time is it? What happened? Tell me the time first.
8:11.
Wow. Sorry, guys. I need a clock. I'm on vacation. I'm relaxed.
Rabbi Langer pointed out you're correct, by the way. Dalet al Dalet is a carmelist. Less than Dalet al Dalet is a Makom Torah.
Okay. Shkoyach. Shkoyach. It's just in the comments. It's just going to go back and forth. Most of the time, Menachem Ateh wins. Once in a while, you listen. I'll take the win now. Shkoyach, though.
Shir Malais, Minam Kinkar Adonai.
Shem Alais Mamakim Posich Adonai.
Adonai Shema Bekulitin as Nachakashwas Kotakhanai.
Adonai Shema Bekulitin.
Im Avnot Tishmaya Adonai Miyamo.
Im Avnot Tishmaya Adonai Miyamo.
Kim Chas L'chol Leman Tiborei.
Chas L'chol Leman Tiborei. Kiviz Adonai Givzon Nafshi V'lo Echolti. Nafshi L'Adonai B'Shomrim L'Boiker Shomrim L'Boiker. Chayisol Adonai Givzon Chesed V'Arbeim V'Fidu. והוא יבדה את ישראל מכל אבן ישראל חלקו בישראל שם שוב יורים דמי יום שמוקים לך מלא יוצאים טוב בזמן גרום אמן שכוייך רבו ישי Yes. Yes. Oh, I gotta move the camera. Sorry.
It's only 8:10 right now. I know.
Oh, no one say? What did you say? The Fabio?
Only 8:10 right now. Only 8:10. 8:08. Whatever.
Sorry. I really apologize. I need to work. I work with a clock, and I didn't have anything. It's just. And I figured it's a really easy daf. It was a pretty simple daf. Just a lot of pictures, so a little off. Sorry, Rabbi Isai.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to sleep now? What's the deal?
I just came back from my sister's wedding.
Ooh, are you serious? After a sister's wedding, you're learning the daf? That's beautiful. Beautiful.